Hey class, my name is Sam and I'm going to do a video upload this week. So this week we've been reading a lot about health disparities and this idea of identity development. And these are two very foundational sort of notions to this class, it seems like. So I'm really excited to talk about a few of them. Health disparities, of course, in a nutshell, are inequities in health outcomes across groups in the community based on socioeconomic factors, behavioral factors, risk factors, and so on. And I think in order for us as an interdisciplinary network to sort of address and hopefully resolve some of these disparities is to think about how do we as human beings and as a community self-identify. Identity is a subjective lived experience, and we all use and think about it in different ways, but it is affected by the external, and this external threat is what we have also been reading about, called social stress. So identity, it has this inherent nature to our existence, but we use common tools to navigate what we think of as identity and what we think of as identity of someone else. And one of those tools, for example, are labels. Labels, there are countless amounts of labels, and how people use labels are, it varies across groups. And in order for us to sort of think about health disparities, I think we need to really consider how identity comes into play. The stages of identity development, as outlined by Myers and Northridge, I think this makes a lot of sense. I think, your lived experience as, a 16-year-old is going to be a lot different than your lived experience as like a 29-year-old or a 55-year-old. Where you live, how you live, what kind of job you have. I mean, there's so many, nature sides to this idea of identity. Social stress is built into our systemic violence. Systemic violence is violence that occurs unintentionally. It's harm that's placed on groups of people as carried out by normal daily activities. And of course, one of these sorts of systemic forms of violence is discrimination. Discrimination is very rampant in our society, in healthcare as well. Discrimination, is still legal in dozens of states in terms of employment and housing protections. There are dozens of states that do not protect gender and sexual minorities based on by law. In housing and in employment. And I think we have a lot of systemic violence that is directed towards these communities, and I think that they help perpetuate health disparities. And so I think in looking forward, I think us as public health, nursing, NP, MD professionals, we really need to think about how identity is subjective in nature, but can be sort of affected drastically by these social stresses. I think it's worth the fight. I think it's worth the research. And, in order to address these health disparities, again, we need to think about identity. We need to develop sensitive research methods, and we need to think about what these systemic forms of violence are. So I look forward to reading all of your guys' responses. I hope that wasn't too quick, but don't want to go too long. And I will talk more next week with you guys. Have a good weekend.